This video is on solving equations. We're going to go through basic one-step equations, two-step equations, equations using the distributive property, equations involving combining like terms, and then just a couple of more complicated equations. So this is just an overview of each different type of equation that you'll be expected to know how to solve in algebra. Let's start with basic one-step equations. There's 4 different types of operations that you really need to focus on. So we're going to start with our first problem of 2 plus x equals 5. Our goal every time we solve an equation is to solve for the variable and to get that variable by itself. Since we have something attached to the variable, which is a plus 2, we need to get that to equal 0. Because 0 plus x is just x, and x would be by itself. So if I have a positive 2, and there's no sign that says positive, but because there's no sign, that does indicate to you that it's positive. To get rid of that positive 2, I have to do its opposite operation. I have to find its inverse. The inverse of positive 2 is negative 2. So I'm going to subtract negative 2 from the left side of the equation. And what I do on one side, I have to do on the other, because I want to keep the equation balanced. So positive 2 minus 2 gives you 0. On the left side, we're just left with x. We always keep that equal sign, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So x equals 3. One way to check my answer would be to plug that back in, and 2 plus x, which we said is 3. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Well, I know 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 equals 5, so we did it right. Next, let's look at x minus 8 equals 10. So now, instead of having a positive number, I have a negative number. I have negative 8. I want to get x by itself, so the inverse of negative 8 is positive 8. But what I do on one side, I have to do on the other. So these are going to cancel out, and we're left with x. And 10 plus 8 is 18. Again, we can check our answer by plugging in to x our value of 18. So 18 minus 8 is 10. That works, so we know we did it right. The next equation is 3x equals 18. Well, now I've got multiplication. Before I had addition and I had subtraction, and we did the opposite operation, plus and minus, minus and plus. But because we have multiplication, we need to do the opposite operation of multiplication, which is division. I want to get x by itself, so I really need to get 1. Before we were trying to get 0, because 0 plus x is x. Now we're trying to get 1, because 1x is x. So 3x, I'm going to divide by 3 to get me 1x, or x. But what I do on one side, I have to do on the other. 18 divided by 3 is 6. We can check our answer by plugging in, and we see that 3 times 6 equals 18. Well, 3 times 6 is 18, so 18 equals 18. We did it right. Finally, our last problem, we have division. X divided by 3. The opposite operation of division is multiplication. So what I'm going to do is multiply both sides by that denominator that I'm trying to get rid of. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with x. 4 times 3 is 12. We can check our answer by plugging in. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so we know we did it right. Now we're moving on to two-step equations. Two-step equations, you're basically going to do your order of operations backwards. So our order of operations is PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, which go together, and addition and subtraction, which go together. To solve equations, we want to do it backwards. We want to do our addition and subtraction first, then our multiplication and division, then our exponents and our parentheses. So here we have 7x plus 2 equals 16. The first thing I need to do is get rid of this positive 2. So I'm going to subtract 2, and what I do on one side, I do on the other. this cancels out. What I'm left with is 7x. So we have 7x equals, and 16 minus 2 is 14. Now I'm left with a one-step equation that deals with multiplication. To get rid of multiplication, we divide. We're going to divide by 7 to get 1. What I do on one side, I have to do on the other. So this is going to cancel out, and we're left with x, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. What's the best way to check your answer? Plug it back in. 7 times 2 plus 2 equals 16. Well, 7 times 2 is 14, and 14 plus 2 is 16. So we know it works. I want you to pause the video now and try this next problem. When you're ready, press start. All right, we have negative 5x minus 7 equals 108. First thing we need to do is get rid of the negative 7 by doing its opposite operation, which is plus. What I do on one side, I need to do on the other. This cancels out, and I'm left with negative 5x equals 108 plus 7, which is 115. Now I have a one-step equation. I've got multiplication, so I need to get rid of it by division. I'm going to divide by negative 5, and what I do on one side, I do on the other. These are going to cancel out, and we have x equals 115 divided by negative 5. This is a positive divided by a negative, which means we're going to have a negative number. If you get stuck on this, we know 5 times 20 is 100, and 5 times 3 is 15. So we know that it's going to be 20 plus 3, which is negative 23. You can check your answer by plugging it back in. Negative 5 times negative 23 minus 7 should give you 108. Now we're going to solve some equations by incorporating the distributive property. The distributive property says that whatever term is on the outside needs to be multiplied by each term on the inside. We always want to do the distributive property first. There are some exceptions, but if you ever get stuck, just remember, multiply it out. So 5 times x and 5 times 3. Well, 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is positive 15, and we know that that equals 35. Now we want to solve this two-step equation. We've got this positive 15. We need to get rid of that first. So we're going to do the opposite operation, which is negative 15. And I'm going to subtract that on both sides because what you do on one side, you do on the other. This is going to cancel out, and we're left with 5x. 35 minus 15 is 20. So we're left with 5x equals 20. Now I have a one-step equation that involves multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 5 on one side. What I do on one side, I do on the other. So this cancels out. We're left with x, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. If we plug that back in, we see that we have 5 times 4 plus 3 equals 35. Well, 5 times 4 plus 3 is 7 equals 35, and 5 times 7 is 35, so 35 equals 35. I want you to pause the video and try the next problem. When you're ready, press start. All right, with this problem, you can multiply out and do the distributive property again. But some of you, like in the last problem, may have seen a shortcut. And you can see that we know that this is 2 times what's in parentheses equals 18. We also know that 18 is divisible by 2. So we could decide to divide this whole side by 2 first. What we do on one side, we do on the other. Since this is 2 times what's inside the parentheses, if I divide by 2, they cancel out. And I'm left with 3x plus 15 equals 18 divided by 2, which is 9. This is another way to do it. I only recommend this, though, when whatever term is in front is also divisible by what it's equal to. Same thing here, 35 is divisible by 5, so this strategy would work. Hopefully, if you did it the other way, you're going to see that you're going to get the same answer. So we have this positive of 15. We need to get rid of it, so I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. This cancels out, and I'm left with 3x equals 9 minus 15. Since my larger number is a negative, I know my answer is going to be negative. And 15 minus 9 is 6. So 3x is going to equal negative 6. Finally, because I have multiplication, I need to divide both sides by 3. Because what you do on one side, you do on the other. I hope you're getting tired of me saying that, but it's very, very important. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we're left with x. And negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Again, you can plug your answer into your original equation and see if it works. Additionally, if you did it this way, where you did the distributive property first, in this case, you would have done 2 times 3x, which is 6x, and 2 times 15, which is 30, and have that equal to 18, you should still get the same answer of x equals negative 2. Now we're going to incorporate another step, which is combining like terms. So we're going to have the variable on both sides, and it makes it a little tricky sometimes, but just take your time and remember you can only combine like terms. So in this first problem, I see that I have 7x equals 4 times x plus 6. I see the parentheses here, and I know I can do the distributive property, so that is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this side alone. We have 7x equals 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 6 is 24. My next goal is to get all of my x's, or whatever my variable is, on one side, and all of my numbers that don't have an x with it on the other side. This means that really I need to bring this 4x to this side. Well, to get rid of a positive 4x, I'm going to subtract a 4x. What I do on one side, I need to do on the other. 7x minus 4x is going to be 3x. Bring down that equal sign. 4x minus 4x cancels out, and we're left with 24. Now I just have a one-step equation, so I can divide both sides by 3, and we get x equals 8. Again, you can plug that in to your original equation to see if you did it right. So 7 times 8 equals 4 times 8 plus 6. We're only going to do order of operations whenever we check our answers. Don't ever do anything that involves bringing something to the other side, because it really is checking your possible inaccuracies. So if you don't solve equations correctly, checking your solution isn't going to help, because you're going to be doing those problems over again. Well, 7 times 8 is 56, and we have that equal to 4 times 8 plus 6, which is 14. Well, 14 times 4, if you need to do that math on the side, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and we get 56 equals 56. So we did it right. For this next problem, I want you to pause the video and try it on your own. All right, we have now distributive property on both sides of the equation. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. We're going to multiply 4 times x plus 5, and we're going to multiply 3 times x minus 6. Well, 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 5 is 20. And that's going to be equal to 3 times x, which is 3x, and 3 times negative 6, which is negative 18. Now we have an equation that has variables on both sides and numbers on both sides. Technically, it doesn't matter which side you bring the variables to and which side you bring the constants to, as long as they're on opposite sides. I tend to keep my variable on the left-hand side, but again, you're going to get the same answer. It doesn't matter. So I see that I have this 3x, and I want to bring it to this side. So I'm going to take away my 3x, and what I do on one side, I do on the other. Well, 4x minus 3x is just x, but I still have this positive 20 left over, so I'm going to bring that down, and I know that it's equal to, well, this cancels out, so I know that it's equal to negative 18. Now we just have a one-step equation. I'm going to get rid of the 20 because I want to bring it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides because what I do on one side, I do on the other. These are going to cancel out and I'm left with x equals negative 18 minus 20, which is going to be negative 38. And how do you know if you did it right? Check your answer. All right, I want you to pause the video and try to do these problems on your own. When you're ready, press start and we'll go over them. For this first problem, we have 7x plus 10 equals 2x plus 25. First thing I personally want to do is bring this 2x to the other side. Again, you may have done a different set of procedures for this in a different order, but you should get the same answer in the end. I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides, and I'm going to have 7x minus 2x. Now again, we're combining like terms, so 7 minus 2 is 5. Keep the x. We still have the plus 10, so we need to bring that down, and that's going to be equal to, this cancels out, so we just have 25. Now we have a two-step equation. I want to get rid of the 10, so I'm going to subtract 10, and what I do on one side, I do on the other. This is going to cancel out, and we're left with 5x, and 25 minus 10 is 15. Finally, I want to get x by itself, and we have multiplication, so I need to divide, and I'm going to divide on both sides. This is going to cancel out, and I'm going to be left with x equals 15 divided by 5, which is 3. Again, we can check our answers by plugging in. 7 times 3 plus 10 equals 2 times 3 plus 25. 7 times 3 is 21 plus 10. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 25. 21 plus 10 is 31. 6 plus 25 is 31. So we did it right. For this next problem, I have 4t minus 7 equals 14 minus 3t. Now, the variables are in different orders. My left-hand side has the negative 3t last, but it's still the same thing. To bring that negative 3t over to the other side, I have to do the opposite operation, the inverse. So I'm going to add 3t, and what I do on one side, I do on the other. 4t plus 3t is 7t. We're going to bring down the minus 7, and this is going to cancel out on the right-hand side, so we're going to be left with 14. My next step is to get rid of the negative 7 and bring it to the other side. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. This is going to cancel out, and I'm going to be left with 7t, and 7 plus 14 is 21. Finally, to get t by itself, I need to divide because we have 7 times t, and to get rid of multiplication, we divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. This is going to cancel out, and t is going to be equal to 3. Check your answer to make sure it works. Here's going to be our last set of problems. We'll do one together because what I want you to notice is that on the left-hand side, we have like terms. You always want to combine like terms on one side first because it makes the problem easier and less steps. But obviously, if you want to bring everything to one side and do that step by step, you're more than welcome to as well. So here I see that I have 6x and 2x, which are like terms. And I have negative 8 and negative 5, which are like terms. So to combine the like terms, I'm going to take my purples. which is 6x plus 2x. That's going to be 8x. And then I have negative 8 minus 5. Negative 8 minus 5 is going to be negative 13. So now I've combined all like terms on the left-hand side, and we're going to set it equal to 7 minus 2x. I want you to pause the video and finish this problem. When you're done with the problem, start again. All right, we have 8x minus 13 equals 7 minus 2x. I'm going to bring that negative 2x to the other side by adding 2x so that these cancel out. What I do on one side, I need to do on the other. So 8x plus 2x is 10x. We still have our negative 13, so we just need to bring that down, and it's going to be equal to 7. Now I need to get that negative 13 onto the right-hand side because I'm trying to get x by itself. So I'm going to add 13 because that's the inverse operation. What I do on one side, I do on the other. This is going to cancel out, and we're going to be left with 10x equals 7 plus 13, which is 20. My last step, I'm going to get rid of the 10x by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 10. This is going to cancel out, and x is going to be equal to 2. Plug that answer in, and you can see if you did it right. So 6 times 2 minus 8 plus 2 times 2 minus 5, and we want to see if that equals 7 minus 2 times 2. Well, 6 times 2 is 12 minus 8 plus 2 times 2 is 4 minus 5. Equals 7 minus 2 times 2, which is minus 4. 12 minus 8 is 4. 4 plus 4 minus 5 is going to equal 7 minus 4, which is 3. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 minus 5, we want to see if that equals 3. And 3 equals 3, so we did it right. Now I want you to pause the video and try to solve this last problem on your own. When you're ready, start the video up again. All right, first thing we want to do is combine like terms. And what we can see is we have like terms on both sides of the equation. So in this one we have 7 and 3. And in this one we have x and negative 3x. So 7 plus 3 is going to be 10. And we still have the negative 4x. On this side we have x minus 3x, which is going to be negative 2x, and negative 2x minus 16 is going to be what's on the right-hand side. Next thing we're going to do is combine like terms by bringing our like terms to one side. I'm going to get rid of the negative 2x and bring it to my left-hand side, so I'm going to do the opposite operation. This is going to cancel out, and I'm going to add 2x on the other side because what we do on one side, we do on the other. We still have the 10, and negative 4x plus 2x is going to be negative 2x, and that's going to equal negative 16. Don't forget this negative here. It's easy to lose track of your symbols, especially if your handwriting is not so neat. So just be careful with that. Our next step is to get the negative 2x by itself. So I need to get rid of the 10. Remember, the sign is in front of it, so it is a positive. Don't be fooled by this negative right here. To get rid of a positive 10, we need to subtract 10. 10 minus 10 is 0, so we're left with negative 2x, and negative 16 minus 10 is negative 26. My last step is going to be to divide both sides by negative 2 because we're trying to get x by itself. These are going to cancel out, and x is going to equal positive 13 because remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. This concludes solving equations. It's covered a wide variety of them, but these are the types of problems you will see in algebra, and they will get more complicated the higher level you get.